Senator Chris Murphy says one of the problems Yale New Haven Health is finding is that they don't have enough COVID vaccines, and there's no certainty as to how many doses they'll receive each week. Senator Chris Murphy says he's proud that Connecticut is among the states to have delivered the most COVID-19 vaccines to this point. But during his visit with staff at Yale New Haven Hospital today, he said he's going to press the incoming Biden administration to expand the number of manufacturers of these vaccines.
President-elect Biden has already talked about invoking the Defense Production Act to require more manufacturers to make vaccine.
Similar to what President Donald Trump did in having major manufacturers transform their businesses into creating a national stockpile of ventilators last spring.
We have learned the lessons that we know how to, scale this up very quickly, but we need some help in terms of getting the vaccine that we need.
The majority of vaccines administered to frontline workers across Yale New Haven Health were produced by Moderna.
We received another just shy of 5,000 this morning, and we are scheduled to deliver all of them in the next 5 days.
So far, roughly half of the Yale New Haven Health employees have received the vaccine. Some are reticent. And one of the reasons, Dr. Deshpande says, is misinformation about what's in the vaccine.
This vaccine is actually one of the cleanest vaccines ever developed by humans. There are very few ingredients. They are all safe.
Dr. Deshpande says they've received a batch of the second dose of the vaccine, which will be administered all this week. Here in New Haven, Tony Terzi, Fox 61 News.